then you've got a really good line of fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But the software requires at least a 2 test.
At least 2, but 3. I mean, I had this conversation with Phil recently.
But
if you've got somebody, for long course triathletes, the first test that you do of the season, probably wants to be, either this 3-minute thing and then using a spreadsheet, or basically like a 3-minute and an 8-minute and a 20-minute, and you get a really good fit, and you'll get a really good W prime. And that W prime's not really going to change a great deal because A, you're not really training it if you're a long course triathlete. And then when you do your regular tests every kind of 5-6 weeks, you only really need to do the 20-minute bit. This is what I do. I only really revisit the 20-minute bit because that's a reflection of their aerobic ability. And that's what I'm actually putting into the software as their benchmark test. And then I just use the old 3-minute.
Okay.
Because the reality is that I'm not going to see much development in their 3-minute effort. I might see a bit.
Sure.
But it's not
they're
really
long
going
course
to.
triathletes.
But they're a long course. They train for Ironman.
Yeah.
So it's
we're
kind of not.
Okay. Will any future versions of the software allow for a simple 3-minute CP to determine W prime? Surely the software can crank the joules.
Oh yeah, I mean the software can do it. I mean it's easy to do.
I mean, but again, we're forcing our athletes. If we do the 20-minute test, we don't get a W prime. We have to do the 3 or an 8.
You have to do 3. Yeah, you have to do 3 tests.
You have to do 3 tests.
Good W
and
prime.
honestly, that's timely.
Yeah.
So in order for us to be the better coaches and to help these athletes, peak at
In
their
the first
race.
instance, what I can do is, on this stick, I've got the text files. So what I'll do is I'll just create a little spreadsheet that you can pull that 3-minute test into.
Okay.
You can just cut and paste that data in, and it'll just go, and it will give you the W prime.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That'd be great.
But I'll have a chat with Phil because, it's just simple maths.
Right. It is just simple math.
Well, and it's what he's asking, I get that. The time crunched athlete, they don't have time for this test to recover or anything.
Yeah.
They're regular working folks, got family, jobs, sit in a cubicle all day. I used to be one of those. And I was like, 3 tests? Jeez, are you kidding me? If they can do they have to do a 3, an 8, and a 20, or do they do 3 minutes, or?
Yeah, I mean,
3
it
minutes,
needs
3 minutes, and 8 minutes.
needs to be able to give you a curve, like an exponential curve, like a monarch curve.
Okay, so you just need 3 tests.
It's just like a 3, a 6, like a 3,
3
6,
data
and a
points.
12. You need 3 data points.
Okay, so you do 3-minute tests. It's not the best practice, but it's a quick and dirty. Get you.
No, 3-minute won't do it because you need a different time duration.
Okay, so
3, 6,
you do need the 3, the 8, or 3, 6, 8, something.
Yeah.
What are your views on doing 2 tests in one session? So if we were to do
Okay,
that,
now,
then
scientifically,
20
so
minutes, do a 6-minute.
Yeah, so scientifically, in terms of this W prime, like I was saying earlier, this W prime recharges, replenishes in 6 minutes. So my initial protocol for testing people's 3 and 20 used to be, warm up, priming sprints, a little bit of steady state work, and then 3-minute time trial.
Okay.
10 minutes at 50 watts, which is like literally just turning your legs over on the bike. 20-minute test. The problem with that test is that mentally it's a really hard test because you're getting people to do 2 time trials, within an hour, even though metabolically they're recovering. And another small factor in it, I can't for the life of me kind of really quite pinpoint metabolically why, but my experience is that type of test with somebody like you would be really difficult to implement, because my experiences with big guys with lots of muscle mass is that even though their actual fitness might not necessarily be particularly high in terms of the actual raw number of watts, because of their sheer size, the amount of power they can put through the cranks in that first 3 minutes, if they don't pace it right, can absolutely crush them. So, like, Tracy was saying, she did it as a TT, and she's kind of very sensitive to how that feels. If you've got somebody that's insensitive to how that should feel, and then actually does a 3-minute all-out test, like we do, like you guys just did it, in the way that we want it to be done, i.e., just smashes it from the gun. What you find is then that mentally, even that 10 minutes, they can't cover, they just can't do it. And my experience of that is not just kind of 1 or 2, it's like 4 or 5 or 6 instances, and it has always been big males, tall, lots of muscle mass. Don't know why, I can't put a finger on it, but you can. So when you're doing the multiple tests, you can combine them. And to be honest, if you were to combine them, I think you could probably combine a 3, a 6, and a 20. 3, a 6, and a 12 in an hour's test.
For our online clients, we could easily set them up over 2 days to do 2 tests.
Yeah.
But for our on-site clients, we probably have to either mentally push them to get it done, or we'd have to say, we're going to do one week and one another week, and we're going to give you the
this is where this test works.
Yeah.
Provided you get that protocol
If
right.
we can get that feature added into FizFarm, I think it would be our Apollo now. It would help us help our clients.
Now, like I was saying earlier, in fact, actually, it doesn't quite necessarily have to be 3 minutes. Bergstrom et al. In 2012, she wrote a paper, she just graduated, she wrote this paper about estimates of critical power and anaerobic work capacity from a single all-out test of less than 3 minutes. We said the current findings indicated that estimates of CP and W prime were not affected by shortening the test by 30 seconds. Reducing the length of the test to 2.5 minutes provides a less strenuous yet valid protocol for estimating CP and W prime.
I'm looking at our data.
Shorter than 2.5 minutes? It's too short.
Too short.
So in the 2.5 minute protocol, they basically averaged the last 30 seconds, so from 2 minutes to 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I was saying, when looking at our graphs, most everybody was at that point
Yeah, you just
after the first minute and a half.
Yeah.
average it in and just this.
They did, and actually she says in that paper that 90 seconds is it's just as meaningless if you try and use 90 seconds because it's all over the shop. So as a test, like I say, the warm-up and the priming efforts. The priming efforts are really key in terms of turning on those oxygen kinetics. Because you're about to do, like I was saying earlier, with the priming stuff, it influences the ability to do work above your critical power, which is key in this 3-minute all-out test because that initial bit is meant to be well above, so you use up your W prime. It has to be done blind, average of the last 30 seconds. The work above the calculated critical power is your W prime. I wrote down cadence implications with Video and CompuTrainer, and the reason I wrote that down is because I was slightly concerned about the ability to set the CompuTrainers or the Video to set it up so you can actually do the test. As it happens, it all worked out fine, but my initial concern was that setting it up might create a situation whereby when you did that initial really hard effort, you simply ran out of gears and ran out of cadence because there wasn't enough resistance in the load generator. So people would be in the 5311 and like 120 RPM and spinning out.
I didn't have that problem.
No, so nobody had that problem, so it's fine.
Okay.
Does this have to be done on a trainer or can be done on the road too?
You can do it on the road, yeah. Not on a hill.
Not on the hill?
Not
So-
Just on all
For our
flat.
crit racers that we're coaching,
Yes.
just tell them on one of the Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night crits with 1 lap to go,
Take a
nail
flyer. Take a flyer. Yeah.
it. Nail it and go.
Yeah. Take a
and
flyer.
it can go to you puke.
Appropriate. Okay.
I've done that a few times.
Very cool.
So, I mean, what do people think about that test in terms of effectiveness?
I just worry that I've trained my athletes the wrong way.
Sorry?
I always train my athletes to start easier and end harder.
Yeah, but no,
And
but
if
that's a protocol issue, Reg.
Well, that's just it. I think I've spent 6.5 to 7 years doing 20-minute tests and teaching them, start easy, end hard. I preach, everybody knows my protocol. Make your last 10 minutes stronger than your
Well,
first.
that's because they're not used to it, not understanding what's going on
I mean,
here.
if I change the protocol.
Yeah, but let's just debate this, okay?
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong on a 20-minute test because you're dealing with people who lack a sensitivity to perceived effort.
Okay.
So when you say to Joe Bloggs, who's just been doing cycling for 2 years, okay, your last 10 minutes needs to be, you need to be working harder than your first 10 minutes. Your last 5 minutes wants to be harder than the previous 5 minutes. The reality is that their sense of awareness of how hard they're going in that initial 10 minutes is going to be out of kilter with where they're actually at. So they're actually going to be working so that you actually still probably find that you get a fairly flat line over that 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if in all of your clients the majority is a line that just rises. And then you're taking an average of that. I'd be genuinely
The
surprised.
majority of them look like this, or they'll fail. They'll just drop off.
So your education piece is driven more by their lack of sensitivity to how their body feels than actually an incorrect protocol.
So like you said for the 3 minutes, fangs bared, all out, bleeding from the gums, everything you got.
Yeah. Battery acid.
Leave with nothing left.
Basically, battery acid taste in the mouth within 5 seconds.
Got it. Okay, great.
So what I understood, there's two different ways of doing it. One is just what we were supposed to do, the balls out, 3
Yeah.
minutes. And then the other is the actually 3-minute time trial, 6-minute time trial,
Yeah.
12-minute time trial.
Yeah, and we'll talk more.
We'll do about that tomorrow.
But yeah, there's two different ways to approach it. And like I said, next week I'll pull a spreadsheet together. So if you do decide that you want to implement the 3-minute test because it's quick and easy, and you get that communication piece right, then all we need to do is take that TXT, the 3-minute, like you've done with me, chuck it in to the spreadsheet, and the job done.
Great.
In terms of applicability, do people kind of understand how applicable it is now in terms of its relevance to critical power if the athlete does the protocol right?
Yeah.
And then ease of doing it. Would people? So you all did it. Do you feel that that's a far more palatable test than the 20-minute test?
Well, yeah, it's, I'm coming into this new, everyone else has been doing
Sorry,
this.
because it kind of is it bearable?
I think it would be bearable for some of the clients because they can't get the apprehension during the test.
Yeah.
And some of the folks that take a 20-minute threshold test, they might have taken 2 or 3 times. They go, I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
I just take their screen away from them. But the 3 minutes, by the time they start worrying about it, they're halfway through the test.
I feel like as a client, I would be more successful in the 3-minute test than the 20-minute test.
Maybe hot.
It's just to me, there's so much weighing on my mind through the whole 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're
And
watching
with the 3
everybody
minutes,
else.
it's so much easier. You just know, all right, I'm just gonna go all out.
And then you're done.
And plus, I didn't even know when it was coming, because
I know when I started hearing whistle breathing, I knew it was okay for me.
Well, it's great. Cool.
Do you find that clients might have different successes with the different tests depending if they're anaerobic or aerobic athletes?
Sorry?
Like if a client's an anaerobic versus an aerobic athlete, would they have different successes with a different test? The 20-minute versus the 3-minute?
Define anaerobic athlete.
Like someone who's a lot of aerobic capacity, a long distance, versus someone who's a crit racer.
Yeah,
It's still more anaerobic.
Crit racers and aerobic. I mean, they're still an aerobic athlete.
Someone who's better at.
Yeah, they have. If
2
you looked
minutes
at,
than-
if you looked at their kind of 5 second, 5-minute critical power, yeah, they'd have a different profile.
Yeah, it's on.
So that one, yeah, that one, yeah, this basically. That's what we're talking about, isn't it? you're talking about somebody having a profile that looks like a downward slope, as opposed to something that has a flat slope.
Yeah.